the Toronto Raptors scored 105 points in total in a game. Okay, they scored points through 2-point field goals, 3-point field goals, and 1-point free throws. Okay, that's just information. I think the most useful piece of information in that first part is this 105. Okay, obviously, if you've ever watched basketball, they score points in 3-point, 2-point, or 1-point intervals, right? So nothing else interesting in that first little bit. Okay. The team scored. This is where things start to get interesting. Okay, and then you need to pay attention to like what they. I think what makes this question a little bit easier is if you think, what do they continually reference in the rest of this question? Okay, you can form your let statement around that reference. That's kind of what helped me today in the mindset of looking at this for the first time. Right, the team scored 7 more free throws than 3-point shots, and 1.5 times as many 2-point shots as 3-point shots. How many of each type of field goal did the team score? What's the thing being compared with? What's getting compared to all the time in this question? Elizabeth had her hand up first there, Opal. 3-point shots. You're getting information, but then they compare it to the 3-point shot. Right? So if it was me, I would say I saw a couple different solutions in Mr. Polling's question, like this student work. But if it was me, I would say, okay, well, let's say let X represent okay. And then once you have that, everything else is in comparison to those 3 points, right? And so it makes life a little easier because now you can model things with just one variable because you have that thing of consistency across whatever else is there. Does that make sense? Okay, there are other ways to model this, including multiple variables. Also, just like, I can't remember what the solution looked like, but there are other ways to do this if you did it another way. But I think if you look at what everything is comparing to, and then use that to say that that's your let statement, then you can run with that, okay? So, let's start with the first one. Okay, something like free throws. Okay, free throws, what did it say here? The team scored 7 more free throws than 3-point shots. Okay, well, X represents 3-point shots. So let's say, okay, X, that's 3-point shots, and then it said they scored 7 more than that. Plus 7. X plus 7. 3-point shots plus 7. Is everybody happy? Not too bad. Then just use that again. Let's do it again with the next statement. And 1.5 times as many 2-point shots. Okay, one thing you're going to notice here. Okay. Let's deal with this. 1.5 times as many 2-point shots as 3-point shots. Would everybody agree? There's the number of 3-point shots, and then you multiply by 1.5. Would everybody agree so far? There's one little piece that I'm kind of missing here, okay? Because I know what's coming. But Hazel, what do you think?
Oh, well, eventually you're going to be comparing it to the total number of points, where that is just
Exactly. So I'm going to leave it like this for just 1 second, okay, and then we'll come back to it in a sec, okay? So 3-pointers. What did we say 3-pointers were? Yes, Elizabeth? It's just X. Okay. Is everybody happy? I think this is honestly the easiest way to do this. Okay, you find the commonality in the question, i.e. what is everything comparing to, and let that be your let statement, and then force it to kind of work after with whatever else is left. Now, that's just talking about the number of shots. Okay, but it also told us the total number of points that were scored. Everybody agree? So now we can go back. We can say all this was 105. Now we're almost like changing our units. We're not talking about shots. we're talking about points scored, right? If you know, like if you think to what, like, how do you score points in basketball? Well, free throws, you only get 1 point for. 2-pointers, you obviously get 2 points. And 3-pointers, you get 3-pointer. Everybody agree? So if we're talking about points, and we know that 105 points were scored in the game, then we have to add up everything that they did during the game. Would that make sense? And so all of a sudden, now the setup is, this is what I said when we did these questions in the first place. I would agree that the setup for these questions is more difficult, but the math is definitely easier. Okay, the hard part is representing these questions. It's not the solving part. Okay, so let's just, I'm just going to write this into one line here, and then we'll just solve. You notice I only got one variable here. That's the whole point, because that's where you're at in your math journey. Okay? It's not that there aren't easier ways to do it, it's just the math is harder. Okay? So here's what we got. X plus 7 plus 2 times 1.5x. I'll move this. If you guys want to write this up here, you can. I'm going to move this in a sec, so I got room to solve it. Plus 3x equals 105. Does anybody disagree with what I've got there? Oops. Okay. So now you can go, all right, I'm going to get rid of the brackets, any brackets I see, and then I'm going to collect like terms and just solve for x. That's what I'm just, ultimately I just want to get x on the left and get the numbers on the right. That's what I want to do, right? So x plus 7, we're going to get rid of the bracket there. I'm going to get x plus 7 plus 3x plus 3x is equal to 105. Okay, that's me just getting rid of the bracket here for this 3x. And now you can collect like terms. X, x, x. How many x's do you count? Yes, Elizabeth? 7. I think 7 as well, right? I'm going to have 1x plus 3x plus 3x. That's going to be 7 x's plus 7 has to equal 105. Okay, and now you're just going to solve for x. So let's just subtract 7 from both sides. All right, so 7x is going to equal 105 minus 7. Okay, which will be 98. Okay, and I know 7 times 7 is 49. 49 times 2, 98. So 2 7s make 14. If you were to do that in your head, okay? Or just divide both sides by 7. And you'll get. Okay? Am I done? Declan Chicken said no. Colson's also saying no. I mean, it'd be very easy to say, I found X, I'm done. Very easy to do that if you didn't finish reading the question, right? It says, how many of each type of field goal did the team score? You know what X is. So now go back. You also have 3 different expressions to represent the number of points scored in each situation, right? So you say, okay, it's really just like how many of them are scored, right? So we're just going to substitute. Yeah, it's not asking for the points scored. It's just asking for the number of each one of them scored, right? So it's not asking for points. So I don't actually care about the value of the points this time when I go back, right? So right off the bat, I know one of them's easy because 3-pointers, well, it's just X. So I know there has to be 14 3-pointers. Okay, we're not talking about the value or like how many points there actually are, just how many of each shot were actually made. Okay, and so it's just the stuff inside the brackets here. Okay, so then they scored 14 3-pointers, and then you could go where to write this. I should have given you guys more room than this. 1.5 times 14. Everybody understand? That'd be the number of 2-pointers made. So that's 21 2-pointers. And you have the 14 plus the 7. That's 21 again. Okay, so 21 free throws. Oh, sorry guys, I went over break. Okay. I'll hit stop there. That's not an easy question. I'll hit stop.